Hi, everyone. I'm Mag Rodriguez. I'm the CEO and founder of Even, and I am here joined with LaRussell and Tietta. Today, we're going to be having a special session on Free Game Wednesday because normally it's Free Game Friday. They have hours and hours of content on YouTube where they help artists and managers really think about how they can manage their careers and really build a team for themselves. So today's going to be a special conversation with them. We've tried to do this in the past, and I'm so excited that we're finally here to do it. So welcome, guys. Yeah. All right, so I met them in 2022, and it was really interesting because when I met them, this was after like 6 months of us building Even, and probably the most fascinating part about this was we jump on a call, and it was actually us three and Alvaro, our co-founder and CTO, and the first thing LaRussell says is like, well, we already do direct-to-consumer. Why do we need you? And I think a good way to start is you guys have been doing direct-to-consumer, and you guys have been doing it before it was, you know, a report on a financial magazine. You guys were doing it before superfans was like a hype word or buzzword in the space. Walk us through, how are you guys doing direct-to-consumer on day one, before Even, before the hype? What was the strategy? And also, like, what made you guys want to do it to begin with?
There's been several formats of direct-to-consumer for me. I think my initial entry into direct-to-consumer was my first show in 2018. I sold every ticket hand to hand, like people pulling up to my garage having to buy a ticket. That was my first thing of like, hey, I'm going straight to the people. I didn't even know what site to use to sell the tickets. You know, it was only one way to get them. And outside of that, it was merch. Before I had Shopify or Squarespace or any of that, it was the same thing. Hey, I got these tees, pull up to the crib, pay me, grab them. That was my first direct. When I decided to sell music direct and actually involve technology, we did I did an album called For What It's Worth at the top of 2022. Top of 2022, I think like January, February, I did an album called For What It's Worth, and I released it via Shopify. And I think that album made like $13,000 in like 2 or 3 days. And that was my first glimpse of like, oh, people could come straight to me.
And were you going to streaming at the same time as you were selling the album? Or was this like just...
I think I went to streaming after on that one. Yep.
Okay. Right. Yeah. And T, you were already working with LaRussell at this time. What was the thought process around... Because I also think it's really important for people to understand that, like, going direct to consumer, seeing that $13,000 was probably like, oh, this is amazing. What was actually happening behind the scenes? Like, how did you have to facilitate that over to the audience and to those fans?
So LaRussell chose to upload the music through Shopify as a digital product. So when people purchased it, he was able to just send them like a downloadable copy of the music, which made it really easy to facilitate the direct to consumer in that way. But even beyond the music, when we were doing things like the backyard shows were the first ones that we did direct to consumer as well. And doing those, we used things like spreadsheets and allowed people to things as simple as Google form, and they can just fill it out and then we'll respond to them via email. So we were just getting it how we lived it, honestly.
Yeah, those first backyard shows was Excel sheets, direct to consumer. It was no ticketing website or nothing. You send us the email, fill out the form, we'll hit you, get a Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, and that's what it was.
I love that. And we're gonna get to the part of tools, because I think you guys have done it in a way, even now at scale, there's still tools that you guys are using that, you know, I think most people don't know are free and just like available for you to use. But before we get there, I want to talk about the elements of direct to consumer. That project in the beginning of 22, you guys did 13,000. The first project on Even, which was later in the year, this was I Hate When Life's Going Great. That project did $97,000 on Even in the first month. And then fast forward to January of this year, your latest album did close to $500,000 in the first 60 days of the year. What has remained the same to, 4 years ago in the process of going direct to consumer, and what has changed essentially now and when you do a release? And it could be strategy, it could be tools, it could be...
I think the only thing that changed is the marketing and the promotion of it. Like, when we did I Hate When Life's Going Great, we didn't even really market or promote. Like, that was my first time using Even after I was like, prove to me this works. And you were like, look at this, it works. I remember I just got on and was like, yo, it's my birthday. I'm releasing this album. I would love for you to buy it directly from me. I actually created the rollout and messaging of what a release on Even looks like that everybody end up using,
Buy the
like,
art
that
from the
became
artist.
standard. That whole process though of like buy it from me, it became the standard. But so then that was the process and that was the result. Versus when you look at something's in the water, we market it for months, live streams and give backs and like it was so much more expansive. Like every day we seen different results and we seen it climb and rise based on the content. So we really just changed the way that we market and promote, convincing people that it's worthy of paying us versus waiting on the stream.
Yeah, I would say to add to that, perks. Like when you released I Hate When Life's Going Great, there was the only benefit to it was supporting the artist. It was like, I'm somebody who believes in this. I got the album early. I get to listen to it. Whereas you fast forward to Something's in the Water, we did the free shows. People got all of these different things as like incentivization to support.
And honestly, like, I mean, you talk about Even slogan, right? This was your messaging. Even the idea of like giving fans perks. The initial idea of what we now call access on Even happened after we did, I think a week after going live, you were like, yo, can you send me just like random 10 fans? I'm just going to send them a percentage of the streaming. And I was like, oh, there's an opportunity here not to only tell people buy from me, but also like if you support me, there's ways I can give back in a way. So I want to touch on touring, right? Like you've been very vocal, not only in your music, but also just in the way that you guys operate as like a unit around the losses that came from touring in the early days. I mean, one of your biggest records, you talk about losing money at the door, right? Talk me through those moments of like losing money at the door, because now we're sitting here and this is like, it's almost like, I mean, it's the Bay Mecca. It's like you go to LaRussell's backyard and you see a show. But it wasn't like that, right? You tried to go more of a traditional route of like going to venues and trying to get booked. Tell me about those losses.
I still lose money at the door to this day on some shows, because we still take a lot of risk and go big. So the same principles back then I was applying applies now. Like early days though, my first shows I had started, I was like, I'm going to do Proud to Pay. So I had no floor, no ceiling. It was like whatever you pay, that's what you do. Pay it at the door when you come. And I remember we did a show in Oakland. We sold out the show. It was like 500 cap show, but I didn't make nothing. And at the end, I think it ended up generating probably like $4,000 or $5,000. That was only like a $10 a head average, And I put on a hell of a show. Like I'm one of the best performing artists there is in our not just our genre in music. So I learned then, I was like, man, let me change this Proud to Pay. Let me see if I could find a way that make it more sense. And we created offer base, where now someone has to put in their offer and I could say yes or no, so I could still hit whatever number I need to hit to make sure everything is good, and then I can get over that if possible, but I can still fill the space if it's not there. You feel me? And that really became like a thing, especially with the backyard, because we seen it grow. First backyard show average was probably like 25, and then it started going to 40, then 50, then 60, now 100. People pay 250, 300. People have paid 1,000, to come in this yard now. So we've got to see it slowly scale and grow. But those first losses was me building the base in the community. I allowed people to get access to me for any amount they could afford, because I knew once they experienced it, they'll pay whatever it's worth next time.
And I guess to that point, right? Like it takes not only a certain type of mindset, but also like you have to be okay with the risk of like taking the loss. And that's not everyone, right? So T, this is more of a question for you, like through more like the manager lens. I saw a post on X maybe like the last week of an artist who was going out like to their community and saying like, I want to tour so bad. I want to go out and perform these records. I'm sending all this music. If you're a manager looking for supporting acts, or if you're an agent, like, please message me. I want to go on tour, or I want to perform music through a manager lens, and, you know, having the lessons of what works and what doesn't work. What would you tell that artist? What should they do?
We talk about this often because we help a lot of like newer artists who don't really have a base or can't maybe bring 100, 200 people to a show. And we always tell them, like, bro, go rehearse outside. Just post, tell them I'm going to be at this park, or I'm going to be in, he used to do his garage. I'm going to be right here. I'm going to be rehearsing. If you want to hear my music live, come see me. And whether it's 2 people or 3 people who show up, it's like you still got to perform that music live. And I would also say something that really helped build LaRussell's like performance, stage performance, and also help get him booked was rehearsing and recording it and then sharing it online. Like, that's still a version of you performing your music live, so people can see that you're an act worth seeing live. But if they've never seen you live and they've never heard the music, it's a really tough sell. Like, you have to give people a reason to want to support you. We have like a saying, like, make it easy for people to support you.
My live streams in my garage is what allowed me to sell tickets. People start tuning in and being like, I want to see that in person. You know, they're like, I got to go see what the hell this is. Like, he doing this in the garage and it feel like this. I need to feel it in real life. So if you don't have the capacity to go out into the world yet, live stream and do it. It's the same thing. You know, if you watch somebody do something incredible online, that's going to make you want to see it in real life. So you could start there instead of like, I don't know, I want to get a venue, somebody take me on the road. You can't count on somebody to take you on the road. You got to go hit that road dolo. And you don't even have to hit the road in today's time. Like, put that camera on and go live.
If we rewind to Something's in the Water, that's actually a really big part of the marketing campaign, was him performing the songs live in his pop's garage. Like, it's the same technique. You can just rinse and repeat. And if you're a really great performer, it's not going to be long before you're able to sell tickets.
Man.
And many of those things don't cost anything but time and effort.
Right.
Man, we started from ground zero. Our first live streams, it was just on a tripod. The camera wasn't even moving. Like, all this that we have now, there was no light, no nothing. You know, everything we have now is because we did it with the minimum we had and got the most result we could yield, and it grew and it grew and it scaled.
Yeah, we used to have the little ring light, you know, the ones that the podcasters use. So you put your phone in the middle.
Oh,
and
God.
we made it work.
But see, I think, now, we were talking about this before we started recording, right? Like, LaRussell was the first artist on the platform, and now there's these, like, incredible artists that are on the platform. Many superstars, etc.
Yeah.
And, like, you were that first domino, and it's been great to see you not only grow as an artist by doing that, but the common thread that I've seen that is every single one of these artists and teams, they operate with the tools that are in front of them. And many of those tools don't cost any money. They just require time. And, I think for this segment, especially for the audience and the artists and teams that are watching this, I really want to talk about the tools, right? And yes, there's like Even, there's of course Shopify. There's a lot of these tools that are available in the space. Some of these cost money. What are some of the free tools that you guys are still using today that might require a little bit of time, but make a big part of how you guys operate your business today?
I think the freest tool is the people you have around you. And social media are the freest tools. Beyond that, everything costs chicken.
No, all the Google stuff.
That costs chicken.
No, it doesn't. Not a Gmail account is free. Google Form is free. Google Sheets is free. Google Excel is free. I use Milanote right now. I've been helping Mally with his album rollout. That's free. There's so many.
Well, hold on, T. Let's break some of those down, right?
Yeah, bust them down, because mine's costs. My Excel costs and my Word costs.
You're thinking of Microsoft. We're all Google.
So let's talk about like Google Forms, right? I love this because while there is so many tools around like data collection, if you go to LaRussell's link in bio, when there was a link in bio.
I'm getting that data.
There was a Google form that maybe took you 30 minutes to put together?
Yep.
And high level how many people have signed up and entered data on that form?
When we transferred, because now we use Rivet, which costs, but like to capture all of our fans, when we imported all of the data that we had gotten from the sheets, it was like 30,000 people. From all of the times that people had submitted we had like the platform, the box and all the series for the live performance platform. People had submitted through there because they wanted to perform on it, to consultations, to getting a feature, to being able to book LaRussell, and all of those were data collection.
We had a form where we just asked people for their zip codes.
Yeah.
Just for future tour data.
Right.
We had a form for people who would be open to us using their backyards.
Mm-hmm.
When we finally did the final dump in Rivet, like with Even and What's TBA and every platform, on data, we have 75,000 contacts. Name, address, email, phone number. Total data is hundreds of thousands.
And with that, again, just like getting to the basics, you set up a form, fans go and enter information. What's the first thing that you do after they do that?
Oh, well, before we even send it out, we connect it to a sheet. So as soon as somebody submits, it auto-populates into a Google Excel sheet. And then we're able to use that to filter by, if you want to filter by price or you want to filter by city. It really depends on what the form's use case was for. But that is the very next thing that we would do. They fill it out, and then we're watching the sheet to see how many submissions and what types of submissions we have.
And today, what is it, April 2026, what does that data give you as an artist?
Sheesh.
That maybe you didn't even realize it could do for you, and also as a business, right? Like thinking through that lens.
We changed DTC from direct to consumer to direct to community. That's what DTC mean to us. Direct to community.
Another slogan I'm stealing.
I left social media. Yeah.
We got to start trademarking it.
I got equity. But when I left social media, we were kind of excited because it was like, man, we can still build. Let's see if we could do it this way without. I just did a show Saturday. Far less people. Like usually when I do shows, I'm doing 500 caps, 750, 1,000, or big festivals, right? I did a show for just 70 people, and I made as much money as I usually take me to sell 350 tickets to make. With a good ticket average, I made more to just cater to 70 people than when I used to go out and try to sell 500 tickets across social media to everybody without using my email list and my direct to community. Like I could just send people messages when they buy merch and say, hey, thank you. I call people. Like if I get a notification from Shopify on my phone and it's like someone paid $100 for this, I'll just call them. Yep. I've called someone one time and they picked up and was like, oh my God. Like it turned them to a lifetime fan just off that one piece of data that I was like, I'm going to use it this time. I got a text number, where people could just leave me messages. So all throughout this break, it's been tons of messages of people just like, man, we miss you. We love you. Thank you. Like they have access to me in a way that you usually don't with your favorite artist. There's not too many fans in the world who could be like, my favorite artist called me on the phone one day or delivered I go drop off merch packages to people's houses,
I love that. So you have your team, right? Which, you're just, this could just be your friends and family, right? Like the people that want to support you. You have your community, and then you have your partners. And by partners, I think one of probably the most exciting parts about working closely with you and your team is you've worked with a lot of different partners, and you've never been afraid to be like, you know what, I'm going to try something new, right? So, and one of those is like distributors. I think for almost every album that we worked on together, there was a new distributor that you guys were working with. And, of course, like you've seen if you know about LaRussell, you've probably seen the conversation of like turning out a deal or not working with this or maybe now working with this other company. But I think the conversation that hasn't happened enough is how have you navigated working with so many different partners that are all competitors and gave yourself enough room to never shut a door to be able to show up and say, it's not a no forever, but it's a no right now. I'm going to go work with this other company. How do you manage that part? Because I'm assuming it's a tricky conversation to have with people.
It's a conversation, and I think that's what a lot of artists don't get to have, and I've tried to overly communicate in all my situations. One, going into them, I make that known, like, yo, I'm down to work, but I don't want to be a slave to you. If I decide, hey, I want to go walk over here and work with this person because I love them, or I want to go work with them, I should be able to do that as a human. That should be my right, as long as I fulfill my obligation to you and what we agreed on. You know, you can't interfere in my other relationships, and you shouldn't want to. And I explain to everybody, like, a rising tide lifts all boats. If I do business with you and then I get a little bit bigger, then I go do business with them and they blow me up, and you still own something of mine and you have something that you have stake in, we all win. We're not competing. You know, ultimately, we're not competing. Every single person who has a part of the catalog is a winner. And you should want to see someone thrive in that way.
And T, on that side, how do you help navigate those relationships? Primarily because I'm assuming as a manager, that's probably one of the most difficult things to have to do, or like there's so many different stakeholders. But I also think it's probably one of the most like beautiful things to see, where like you can have so many stakeholders be invested into one opportunity ultimately. So I through two sides, through the manager lens, but also as just like a creative in the unit that is the world of good company, you know, what have you seen the biggest advantage of having so many different partners in, you know, now the 4 or 5 years that you guys have been working together?
I would say it's perspective. We were talking off camera before this. Like, this is an industry, in my opinion, that really doesn't have any rules. Like, it has like some ground level rules, but it's like really, it's a free for all on how you market, on how you promote, on how you go, if you go direct to consumer or you don't, or whatever, however you decide to build is really up to you to figure out. And I think working with so many different partners and being able to like pick their brains and get their experience, because like we've been doing it for a while now, but no matter how many times we walk into a room, we're always like new to it, at least with them, and they're going to have experience that we don't have and vice versa. So being able to pick their brains and, you know, take the best parts of their business and apply it to ours and leave the things that don't work has really been the most beautiful thing. Like, we really enjoy learning and being able to apply new techniques to what we do. So any new partnership is a new opportunity to learn.
So there's an artist with 50,000 monthly listeners, with a first-time manager watching this. What do you tell them when it comes to partnerships that probably no one else is telling them, and how to manage those partnerships?
You got to deal with who you do to deal with. And that's something that we sometimes skip over because we see the amount, you know, or we have one conversation and it makes us feel good, but it's like, okay, is this somebody I'm going to be able to do this with 12 months out of the year? And sometimes you don't know until you in that business and within your dealings and you like, this didn't work out. But I think you just have to really learn to overly communicate what you feeling and what you thinking, what you experiencing, and what you're trying to do. Because, like, you know, we were talking the other day, even though we have major partners now, we still do everything. And we have to, you know, like their distribution, their goal is to get the product everywhere. Our goal is to make sure they got great enough product to distribute, you know. And sometimes we go into these situations when you finally get a major partner, you like, what can y'all do? Y'all got to, like, y'all should be doing more. You got to do everything. But they really can only do what your art and your product allows them to do.
Yeah. On top of that, I would say, like how he was saying about overly communicating, you should have a really great idea of what your expectations are. Like, if you don't know what you expect from this partner, you probably shouldn't partner yet. Like, you should know what you want to get out of the partnership, or else, you know, you're going to walk away, it's going to end, or however it goes, and you're going to be wondering, like, okay, well, what did I really gain from this? What did I lose? But if you have something that you expected to get, you guys communicated and agreed, now you just have one question. Did we or did we not meet that goal? And if we did, then this is a great partnership to continue. And if we didn't, then, you know, you have to understand what went wrong and choose if you're going to continue or not.
All right, last question, and it's two-sided. One for you, T, one for you, LaRussell. So the audience is primarily managers and artists. What's one thing that an artist can't do for themselves? And what's one thing that a manager can't do besides the obvious one, which is be
You
the
said
artist?
can or can't?
What's the one thing that an artist can't do for themselves?
Can't.
Can't.
Mm.
And what's... That's a tricky one for LaRussell, you said.
I'm like, don't make eye contact.
And on the manager side, or I guess on the artist side, is what's one thing that the manager can't do that requires
the
the artist?
artist?
Yeah, for the artist.
Aside from the obvious, which is make
Besides
the
the
music.
obvious, like
Yeah.
make the music, perform, etc.
That's so tough because it really depends on the people involved that you're discussing.
Yeah.
Every artist and manager is completely different. Like I've cultivated T into a Swiss Army knife. So T might get in the room with another manager who just manages. You know, they don't even understand the depth of like how you distribute this music. How does PR work? How does this, like me and T have taken on every task together, equipment, setup, content, marketing. Okay, this, we go to the seed and we go click. You know, a lot of managers don't touch that part. They just manage the business. So it really depends on the personnel. And same with the artists. Some of us are hyper hands-on. You know, I remember with early even we was having talks because I'm like, nah, I got to be able to do it myself. Like I can't see. I know you'll do it, but I got to be able to do it. It don't make sense. Like that's what I came from. So it's really tough. It depends on what level you are at as an artist. I think one thing the artist can't do is have the proper judgment on everything on their career. Just because you're so close, you so in it. You know, sometimes you so deep into the water that you think it's an ocean and it's really just a pool.
You were supposed to say what the manager can't do because that's what I was going to say.
What the manager can't do? The manager can't do nothing that the artist ain't willing to put the time and effort to execute on. And I think a lot of managers get caught up in that situation where they want more and they want to do more, but you can't do nothing. It's like PR, you know. If I'm not giving you nothing, you'll be like, man, PR is a waste of money. But it's like, no, bro, you're not having no motion. There's nothing
Right.
I could do for you. But a lot of artists don't understand that. They think all of these parties are supposed to do so much and provide so much value, but it starts with us. If I don't give you a hit record, it ain't no record to push. If I don't give you a viral piece, it ain't nothing to push. If I don't give you moments, it ain't no publication want to talk about it. So it's hard for them to execute anything unless the artist is really in there making things happen.
I agree 100%. I was actually just talking about that recently. Like one of the stressors of being in the management position is like, if the artist ain't trying to work, it ain't really no work to get done. Like there's maintenance, there's admin, like, but after that, it's like, if the artists don't do nothing, you're really just waiting for them to like do something for you to then try to build and push out to the world or whatever the case may be.
And you see that with even, you know, there's some campaigns, like some, especially after my initial campaign, you know, with so many people like, oh, we gonna do this because LaRussell did, and it's like, no, bro, you can't just put your music up there and think it's gonna sell. You'll be disappointed. It'll be like, why mine's only did $200? Like, bro, you did $200 worth of marketing and promo. Like, it don't matter what it is, you have to do a certain level of work for anything to come into fruition.
Yeah. To answer the question in my own words, I would say what he said about the artist not always being able to be subjective or objective. Is that the right? About their art. Sometimes it really takes a third party who they know genuinely cares and is as invested in their career to be able to say, like, this ain't that. Even though you feel it and you're riled up and you're emotional about it, like, I really feel like management is supposed to be able to be not as emotional and be able to pull out and be like, no, from a bird's eye view, this is what it is and here's what we should do. And I think that that's a privilege for the artist to be able to be that emotionally invested in their art and to know that there's somebody who has their back, who's like, okay, I can be emotional about it because I know there's somebody who's zoomed out and who can, you know, help steer me if I'm being crazy about something.
Well, thank you guys so much for taking the time to do this. We attempted to do this one other time in Milwaukee, but we didn't record it.
Oh,
That's what happened with
That's,
that?
that's what happened. We didn't record it, which I thought was
Dang.
hilarious. But
wow.
now, for everyone watching, this is, a whole week of different content that Artist Ally is putting together. But this is honestly just a preview of how many sessions have you guys done of Free Game Fridays?
Over 50 or
Over-
60.
Yeah.
So if you go to Good Company on YouTube, you can see literally hours of these sessions where, honestly, I don't even think I did this enough justice, just the amount of content information that you guys have given out artists. And there's probably some artists that have seen some of those early videos and now are in a different stage of their career. So thank you guys so much. And just a quick housekeeping rule, this session does not push you back to the lobby automatically. Zoom does not do that, so you do have to click to go back so you can join the next session. Thank you guys for tuning in. Appreciate you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.